what?
Take me out to
Twitchy Dolphin Media presents Let's Get To. It's baseball from sea to shining sea by the team that brings you home. And now, your host, James Christopher.
And welcome to Let's Get To. I am your host, James Christopher, and speaking of the team that brings you home, we were excited to be in the home of the king of rock and roll this episode, and we're even going to hear from the good folks at Graceland, where Elvis actually lived. Now, before we get to the Redbirds, sometimes, when I'm looking for a topic on the first pitch, the Lord, he simply giveth, he reaches down with a gift. And in this case, the Lord giveth the ugliest set of City Connect uniforms yet, those of the Texas Rangers. Now, if you've listened to this show, you're probably eye-rolling and saying, here it goes, another cheap shot at the Arlington Rangers. Well, yes, that's exactly what's about to happen. Now look, I wouldn't take these cheap shots if they didn't just make it so easy. The whole Rangers thing is actually pretty weird because I don't think of it as a true rivalry. I'm not sure the Astros actually have a true rival. I don't think a true rivalry can be built over a recent amount of time. Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, Cardinals, Giants, Dodgers. Those to me are the real rivalries in the sport of baseball. And I think Houston and Arlington hating each other on principle and then having played for less than 2 decades or whatever doesn't really add up to a fierce rivalry. But I'm told we're supposed to hate each other. Here we go. Now, for me, the whole hatred of the Arlington Rangers that burns deep within my soul begins and ends with the team's response to Hurricane Harvey. For more on that, simply Google it. I've beaten that story to death. So go ahead, Google it. I'll wait. So anyway, City Connects. The concept of alternative looks is nothing new to this intrepid baseball personality. They are one of my favorite parts of minor league baseball. It's fun, and I was glad to see Nike and MLB develop something similar, if not still very much a corporate process. The issue with the Rangers City Connects is that they try to connect to several cities in the Metroplex and seem to fail at all levels. Fort Worth and Dallas are not the same city culturally at all. Dallas has a reputation of being plastic, vapid, and soulless, and I'm not just talking about Jerry Jones. But that's their rep, and it comes through on these uniforms. I don't actually know what they mean, despite all the explanations MLB has put out. For example, they explain that 421 is a special number in baseball and Dallas baseball history, but yet they haven't explained what that means. Show your work, Arlington. That's all I'm saying. And I should say, as we're recording this, my student staff is in here and they think it's funny I call them Arlington. Sorry, that's just what I'm going to do. But really, the whole thing was such a swing and a miss that it makes Joey Gallo look like Tony Gwynn. But overall, despite the corporate approach, I've actually dug the City Connect so far, and you know me, I'm going to rank them, and I rank them thusly. Now, I know there have only been 16 or 17 of these things released, but I'm still going to start by listing the Arlington Rangers at number 30. Nike's going to have to work really hard to make one worse than theirs. Number 15, I have the Dodgers. I just honestly hate the whole full scripted word on the hat thing. It looks awkward to me. Number 14, the Brew Crew. I like the colors, but the word mark needs to be word erased. Seriously, the font is like a 4-year-old drew something. Now, the Braves are at 13, and for me, it just feels like another alternative uniform. Nothing about the community or the culture of the Atlanta area seems to be reflected. The number 12 Cubs forgot that they had an assignment due and threw their neighborhood on a jersey and turned it in. This will be the reason that they have another 100-something-year World Series drought, or at least that's what the fans will say. Look for a dynamite thing in the middle of Wrigley Field. At number 11, the Giants played it safe, which in this experiment was a mistake. It's just sort of there. I love the connection to the fountains that are part of the Kansas City culture that we see in the number 10 look from the Royals. And I should say, for the last 11 or so, I actually really like them, at least to some degree. Now, the number 9 D-back should consider just making this part of their uniform set going forward. It's clean and it's sharp. The Red Sox at number 8 unveiled a uniform that serves as an homage to the marathon and the bombing and the team's role in helping the city recover. I dug the number 7 Nationals homage to the cherry blossoms from the start. It's specific to the region and therefore something that we can all learn about from a distance, like some of the best minor league alternates. The Southsiders come in at number 6 with a really sharp uniform set, except it's not really all that different from their other looks. The Rockies roll in at number 5. A lot of hate, but I love that it feels distinctly Colorado. Get it? Rockies roll. Rock and roll. Number 4, the Angels, and I like the throwback feel, and anytime we can get a cream jersey, I'm in. Number 3 are the Padres. Their jerseys feel like a Copa brand in MILB in all the best ways. Miami's nod to Cuban baseball is in at number 2. This is a look the minor leagues pull off so well, and I love to see them touch a specific element of South Florida culture. And number 1, a homer pick, the Stros. I actually think this jersey is the best of the current uniform set. Houston is a city that looks forward, and it continues its rich uniform history in the Astros. And while I've often complained about the current Astros set, this one feels more like the Astros I grew up with. See, Houston looks forward and Dallas looks to the past. So there it is, our ranking for the current City Connect uniforms. Now back to Memphis, where we're talking about Redbirds, Ribs, and Elvis Presley. So stay with us.
From the bleachers, the Let's Get To Game of the Week.
And we are back here for our very first From the Bleachers segment of the 2023 baseball season. But of course, as usual, we're not coming to you from bleachers. We're actually coming to you from the berm at the Terminix Terrace at AutoZone Park, home of your Memphis Redbirds. We're having a great time at the ballpark. To find out how our night went, let's go back to Jim in the studio. And thanks, Jim. Jess and I were really pumped to get back on the road for the 2023 baseball season, and as become our custom, Easter is the first road trip and we always pick a drivable place so we can bring the dogs. This year it's off to Memphis. The bed in the back of the car was made for the dogs to get to sleep. The Godfather audiobook was loaded. Let's just say it was an offer we couldn't refuse. Now, a scant 10-hour drive later, we pulled into Memphis, and at first light, we went to check out the ballpark. Let's just say this. Ballparks, like everything else, are about location, location, location. And honestly, I'm pretty easy. Ballpark nestled in the mountains? I'm in. Set against a gorgeous desert sunset? Let's do this. In the green wilderness of the North Woods? Bring it on. And then there's something extra special about a downtown ballpark. An AutoZone Park is the epitome of the downtown ball field. Now there's a Redbirds game today, and the red brick facade of the stadium greets you. Now in the middle of all this history, it's time to see the greatest game ever invented in a city that is no stranger to baseball and a team with an already rich history. Now what greets you right away is the contrast of the electric green grass with the urban setting. It's a bit of peace and nature in the middle of a vibrant city. Now anytime I'm in a ballpark like this, one surrounded by city, I fantasize about how cool it would be to live in an apartment overlooking the outfield. That's where I would basically live. And this would be an all-time great view. Clean lines, seats right on top of the action, day or night, sunlight or stadium lights. What a great view out a window. And it's as idyllic as it gets. The diamond in its 360 feet of pure precision with an outfield with just enough tricky angles and low walls to make any fly ball an adventure. Now, baseball has been played at a high level here for years. What else would you expect from a Cardinals farm club? The Redbirds have been PCL champions 4 times since 2000, including going back-to-back in 2017 and 18. Now, in the right field berm sits a solo red chair. A quick search on the Google machine reveals that Albert Pujols hit a 13th inning walk-off homer to this very spot in 2000 that won the club's first PCL title in their first season. That's weird. I thought Pujols only crushed Astros fans' will to live. But that's a matter for my therapist. Now, I'm not sure I've ever seen a branding more fitting to the team than what the Redbirds represent. The main logo is reminiscent of the classic neon sign that could just as easily be found at a blues club or on Beale Street among the other glowing signage. It's a look that permeates through the ballpark with neon brands for several of the vendors, not just the actual Redbirds team. Contrasting that are plenty of throwback looks to Memphis's past and some of the coolest signage ever, windmill art depicting Memphis and the Redbirds. Now, for a team that excels at so much about what makes a minor league baseball team work, their merch really does stand out. It's reminiscent just enough of the main Cardinals brand, but also strong enough that it stands on its own. The uniform set is classic and sharp, and I particularly love the musical M logo reflecting the rich musical history of Memphis. It couldn't reflect the culture of music anymore if the team were called the Hound Dogs. Get it? Elvis. Memphis. Moving on. Their Copa brand, the Musica, combines the neon sign look with the musical M and mixes a combination of rich colors for one of the top looks in the Copa de la Diversión initiative. Now, Memphis believes that baseball is for everyone, and that shows out with their ready supply of their Memphis Pride merchandise. I really like how much of the throwback vibe is all over the place. From the Chicks, which is a really sweet look, to the Astros-esque blues look, and everything in between. All eras of Memphis baseball are at your fingertips. And if theme nights are your bag, there's plenty of theme night gear available, including one of the only good-looking Marvel Defenders of the Diamond logos. The rest, well, swing and a miss. So yes, a visit to the store should net something for everyone. Now, Hometown Baseball Team is about community, and we were very excited to be at the ballpark when the Redbirds welcomed the University of Memphis Tigers. From meet and greets before the game, to the Memphis band bringing a very college-like atmosphere to the game itself, recognizing women and men from several sports, to one of the largest simultaneous first pitches ever. It added a great experience to the whole day at the park. Now, beyond the gates of AutoZone Park, there is a lot of city to explore. The ribs at Central Barbecue are amazing. And we also had the ribs at Rendezvous that were also, well, not to get in the habit of repeating adjectives, freaking amazing. We did get a chance to visit the memorial to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the nearby Lorraine Motel, site of his assassination. It's easy to call the times we live in now the most divisive in our country's recent history, but all you need to do is look back at 1968, the year of his assassination, and realize just how much hope and promise was lost on that balcony. Now, the day ended seemingly as quickly as it started. The ballpark really pops at night, which is maybe my favorite time to watch baseball. Memphis is the home of the blues. It's the birthplace of rock and roll. It's also a haven for this greatest game that's ever been invented. Surrounded by buildings, the ballpark is nestled in a busy community that doesn't sleep. These walls provide the best thing that a baseball team can provide: solace, a break, a place to slow down and let go of all those things that might trouble you. The Redbirds are a team that is supported by their community and in turn helps that community survive. The hyperbole that I often fall into is the promise of making a return trip. I mean it at the time, but the fact is I can't go to every park twice, at least for the foreseeable future, but my trip to Memphis feels different. I guess I should say to the Redbirds in the city of Memphis that I just can't help falling in love with you. What I feel deep inside is a true, real, burning love for you. Memphis, I guess you could say, you left me all shook up.
On the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Do you know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean, the fellas'
Who's on
base.
first? The Let's Get To Team of the Week.
And so as we continue to cover the Memphis Redbirds on Let's Get To, we're excited to have Alex Coil, who is the broadcasting and communications coordinator for your Memphis Redbirds. Alex, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great. We were excited to be at the ballpark. What a great place to go to work.
Oh, yeah, honestly. I'm sitting in my booth right now. I can look over the field, see some cool buildings in Memphis, and then, watch baseball every single day, which can't get much better than that.
And smell the ribs, but we'll get to that later. I'm curious about you. How does someone go from, I'm assuming, a kid who liked baseball to now you are calling, honestly, one of the most identified AAA ball clubs in baseball?
Yeah. I mean, especially in the Cardinals organization, people love to follow their broadcasts and their players in this organization. So we get a ton of eyes, ton of comments, and a ton of people interested in what we are doing as well down here. So I went to Arizona State University, obviously a tremendous baseball tradition there that got to give a shout out to Willie Bloomquist. He's getting that thing turned around, first place in the Pac-12 as we record. Hopefully that stays when this goes live here soon. But, grew up, going to baseball, grew up about 45 minutes from Wrigley Field, going to games, got to go to, at the time, U.S. Cellular Field a lot. My dad's a big Reds fan, so Great American Ballpark. Those three are basically where I spent the majority of my childhood going to those kind of games. Knew I either wanted to play or stay in the game at some point, and once I realized that my fastball isn't in the mid to upper 90s, it's time to find something else to do, and chose this. Did a year with Florence Yalls in the Frontier League. And,
great.
After that season in 2021, came up here in 2022 and been here since.
Indie ball, a little bit different. I love it. How is indie ball different than calling a game for an affiliated league, particularly one like the Redbirds, where you're probably seeing guys up and down a lot?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Frontier League, it's the majority. Like, you'll have some turnover, but the majority of the roster is going to stay the same the entire year. The goal out of that, while a lot of it is player development, because guys can get selected and contracts purchased from there, a lot of it is trying to win the league, right? Mm-hmm. And playing every day as if you're playing to win. Not saying that doesn't happen here at AAA, because it definitely does. Everybody's competitive, and how good these players are. That's in their repertoire in terms of why they play the game. But at AAA, it's a lot more scheduled stuff. Pitchers have to get this many innings, batters have to get this many plate appearances in any given homestand. So not that handcuffs the manager, but that decides a lot. So you're playing more on the storylines of that. Prospects are awesome to follow their stories.
Right.
And then also you're at the AAA level, you're so focused on what is happening with the big league club that you can weave that kind of stuff in and out of a broadcast too, which has been really fun to interact with some of the guys up in the big leagues and seeing them come back down here. Yeah,
especially with the relative close proximity that you guys have to, I guess it's not as bad as it used to be. I'm a big Astros fan, and their AAA was in Fresno for a reason I don't understand. But yeah, I guess I got to imagine that also adds a little bit of that kind of ability to keep up with the big club. Yeah, that's exactly right. And the aspect of rehab assignments is another cool thing. Like growing up, I will have to admit, as a Chicago Cubs fan, the idea of calling a Yadier Molina caught game was something that I never thought I'd be able to do. He came down for 4 games last year, and we got to do that. So that was awesome. We have Paul DeYoung now rehabbing with us. He's been tremendous, a great guy to work with. So getting to know the personal side of those guys has been pretty special. One of the things that's been interesting to talk about on this show is really the influence that having a rehab start has on all levels of your business. How is it for you? Does part of you turn into that kind of giddy fan to see Yadier Molina, like one of the best catchers of all time, come down and play for you guys?
To be completely honest, 100% yes. There's a little more, the job does become a lot more hectic there because there's a lot more media that you have to deal with to make sure everything's lined up. But, he was such a professional through the entire process. He made it easier on us. But yeah, like you're standing next to him when he's being interviewed and you're like, kind of pinching yourself a little bit, realizing, he's like, this guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame the second he is eligible. And, to be in the presence of that much greatness, you really understand the importance of everything you do and the fun side of it as well.
You're obviously calling these games. Who are some voices that maybe you were influenced by growing up? And second part of that question is, how cool is it to know that you are you're someone's access to a sport that they might fall in love with for the rest of their lives? Like for me growing up, I'm an old man. It was Milo Hamilton in the 80s. Who were some of those voices for you?
Len Casper for the Cubs, watching a lot of games that way. Pat Hughes, of course, on the radio. But again, with my dad being such a big Reds fan, we would always have Reds games on TV or on in the car. And so the Brennemans, Tom and Marty, and then and Chris Welsh, watching those guys, how they work. Chris has actually turned into a tremendous mentor for me through a lot of ways. I also help out with his website, baseballrulesacademy.com, learning the rules of the game, and especially these days, trying to explain those to people. But especially, I would say probably Marty, just because of he was everything in Cincinnati. When he came right at the beginning of the Big Red Machine, took over for Al Michaels, and had the tremendous relationships with Johnny Bench and Pete Rose to where he could tell those kind of stories. And he was so respected in that city for that kind of knowledge and for going through all of that, that, he was an institution and called a great game. So I actually got to work a couple spring trainings in the Reds booth doing talent stats. And so I got to have a couple of conversations with him, which was, just as awesome as meeting Yadier Molina, to be honest.
Right. No, I totally. So look, long story short, when we picked our teams, Memphis wasn't necessarily on our list this year. We were planning to go 2024. I'm trying to do 50 ball games in 50 states. And we realized, hey, if we drive to Rocket City, we can do my wife was like, we can do a Redbird game too. When we announced that to our social media of, about 25,000 followers, I think we got the biggest response ever of people excited that we were going to be here. Your next homestand starts May 2nd. What can we look forward to then when the jumbo ship come to town, but also the rest of what has been a really, really stacked international league so far?
Yeah. I mean, it's been tremendous to watch the talent that, it's great for us to be able to see the talent, but a lot of talent that deserves to be in the major leagues at the moment is playing in the international league. And Redbirds are tied for first place as we record on a 9-game winning streak. Hopefully we can get win number 10 here in a row in about 2 hours. But starting with the next homestand, again, you mentioned welcome the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp Tuesday through Sunday, and it happens to be Cinco de Mayo week. And so for Cinco de Mayo, we will be giving away – got these here, the Sugar Skull T-shirts to fans as a gate giveaway. It's tremendous. Obviously, you can see the baseball is the eyes, home plate on the chin, the logo and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
also
great.
Special $5 tickets on the website for that day. $5 margarita, kind of like a drink around the ballpark type theme to that. And then $5 street tacos, which is going to be a tremendous experience at the ballpark. And getting a $5 ticket for a Friday night, can't really beat that, especially for what we have planned. So that is going to be a fun celebration that we were able to do last year. We're lucky to be home during Cinco de Mayo once again. On that homestand, the next day, on the 6th, halfway to Halloween. It's not exactly.
And I hate to cut you off, but when I saw that, I'm like, we came a month too early because I am a big Halloween guy. Yeah,
well, we might have to get you one, right?
Yeah,
we might be able to do that. So, but yes, this is, we showed it to our manager, Ben Johnson, today, and he's like, I gotta get one for my daughter, and he loved it too. So it's going to be some fun stuff. Kids will get, to experience everything there too. But again, halfway to Halloween, it's not exactly halfway to Halloween, but it's as close as we could get. It's a perfect day for it. On the 6th of May, we'll have trick or treat around the ballpark. Kids will get a Halloween pillowcase with the Memphis Redbirds logo on it to trick or treat around the ballpark and go to a bunch of different vendors. There will be a costume contest for all of them, and so it's going to be just tremendous to welcome all the kids and get them out here for a Saturday at AutoZone Park.
So we're throwing our 5th birthday of our show, May 6th in Omaha. You think it'd be bad form if I skip it and come hang out with you guys on halfway to Halloween night? I don't know.
We will welcome you to celebrate that here if you want to.
We're definitely going to do a suite with you guys. We'll talk about that offline either next year or the year after. It's something we do every year.
Awesome.
And clear your head. We're going to do some rapid fire real quick. And first one's going to be kind of a heavy question. So you can take as much time as you need to answer it, only because it's sort of, as we sit here on the 20th when we're recording this breaking news, your first thoughts when you hear the term Las Vegas Athletics.
I love the Golden Knights. My uncle is a season ticket holder for the Golden Knights. It is a tremendous sports city that is continuing to grow, and with the legalization of sports betting, it becomes a lot less of a don't want to touch it city, which I think is great. It's a great city with fun fan base. But the history of baseball in Oakland is so important. Would love to see the team there. They've won so much. They have so many good memories there, not necessarily that they've had that recent success, but even some of the playoff runs that they've had recently. I think figuring out a stadium there would be absolutely amazing there. And, hopefully we can get the best of both worlds. A's stay in Oakland and maybe an expansion franchise to Las Vegas. I think nobody would complain about more baseball teams.
No, you're right. But unfortunately, it's broken out. They have the A's are, I think, out of there, unfortunately. All right. What is your favorite part of the off season?
Favorite part of the off season. So my favorite part of the off season is hockey. I broadcast hockey for Arizona State. I'm the color commentator on the radio. This was our first year that we did it. Just opened Mullet Arena, which was probably more famous at the moment for the Arizona Coyotes playing there. It's a phenomenal college hockey venue, sold out pretty much every single game. You did not get to see the Coyotes play there, so I don't know the dynamic there in terms of the atmosphere. I've heard great things. I know the players love the speed of the ice. So hockey in the offseason is tremendous. And then anytime I get to travel, of course, is awesome.
I'm a recent convert to the NHL. I've adopted the St. Louis Blues until Houston gets a team eventually, and then I will, root for the hometown, however many are on the ice. Okay. When you're visiting a city, for example, mine is pizza. What is your go-to food that helps you define the city outside of like their local cuisine?
I am a big food guy. I love cooking. I love making food. Pizza is a really good answer. I actually probably had my favorite pizza I've ever had was in San Diego in Little Italy, the area that they have there. I believe it's just north of downtown. Phenomenal. Go there if you can, if you're ever traveling to a Padres game or something. Tremendous area. I was covering the NCAA tournament a couple years ago there and got to go out there. Yeah. Pizza is such a good answer. I'm trying to think of the cities that I went to. So I went to Nashville, Indianapolis, and Iowa specifically last year. What was that thing? I love local beer. So if I can go into that category, craft beer, the darker beers, the ambers. So had some really good stuff in of course Colorado, in Denver this past year. Nashville has some great stuff, and then my home state of Indiana, can't go wrong with Indianapolis either. So I'd say that the local craft beer, and not necessarily the food, but
I think that's
growing, and why not?
Yeah, that's an excellent answer. I mean, is that we actually do a whole segment on our show just about craft beer, so that's an excellent answer. All right, Godfather 1 or 2?
Haven't seen either.
I might need to pick some new movies. I keep forgetting I'm getting old.
Well, but like it's a thing that I should.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of movies on the list. My go-to movie was Sandlot. I've probably seen Sandlot 300 times, but and Marvel movies. But the problem is I take so much time looking at those that I don't get to branch out and see the other ones.
Right. No, I totally get it. I still might pick other movies because half of y'all haven't seen these. I keep forgetting. I'm just creeping old. I don't look like it, but I'm an old man. All right. Dad hat, flex fit, or 5950?
$59.50 for sure, but have to get a plug in here on May 25th, giving away bucket hats.
Oh, cool.
Ben Johnson, our manager, loves bucket hats. He uses that during his pregame routine when he gets loose before the players get here. You can always see him with one of those on. Got the Dirty Bird logo on there. So love bucket hats, but I'd say $59.50 for sure.
Okay. Last one. Of the new-ish rules that MLB's adopted that you guys all had last year and Atlantic League had before, or if you read about the new ones the Atlantic League has now, which of those rules do you think needs to go?
Wow. Originally, I would have said pitch clock, but you don't even notice it now. You at the major leagues, they're still going through, but at our level, the guys are so used to it to where it's not even that big of an issue. I will say I wish they would have kept that in the minor leagues so the players are taught on that and get used to it by the time they get to the major leagues, and then they play faster just because that's how they know how to play. But obviously that's not how it worked out. I think it's been a great addition. I would probably say we haven't seen it yet this year. The runner on second rule in extra innings. I think that's when baseball is like you don't care how long it takes when it's being, it's such a high level of play, so intense. I can remember going to a 17-inning Cubs Diamondbacks game at Chase Field, and I'm like, this is like Tyler Chatwood hits a double because he's the only guy left on the bench. Like that part of it, that's what you lose. Now, I understand pitching. You got to save pitching, got to keep everybody healthy, but I'd say probably that one.
Yeah, I was at a Longhorn OU game. I think 22 innings, and I was there for every one of them. It was.
And it's one of those events where you can say I was there for. We went to 18 innings. It gets people talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, he is Alex Coy, the voice of your Memphis Redbirds. Thanks so much, Alex, for jumping on Let's Get To.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Let's do it again.
The seventh inning stretch. What's going on outside of the ballpark?
And welcome back to Let's Get To. We're excited to welcome to the show Alicia Dean. She is part of the marketing department at the world famous Graceland. Alicia, first of all, how's it going?
Oh, it's going really, really well. It's a beautiful spring day here in Memphis.
We got to be, by the time this comes out, we were in Memphis last weekend. By the time we're recording this, my first time, I had ribs at both the city barbecue and Rendezvous. I mean, just
Central?
Fantastic. Central, that's what it was.
Central.
Yeah, just fantastic. So congratulations on having a great city.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a born and raised Memphian myself, so I'm very proud to be a Memphian, as we call it, and even more proud to work here at Graceland, one of the city's biggest tourist attractions. And without Elvis and Graceland, I don't know where Memphis would be in terms of tourism. So this is a great place to be, even as a Memphian.
I am. Well, let's dive right in then, because I have always been an Elvis fan growing up. We were talking before the show about I'm one of those Elvis is better than the Beatles kind of thing, which I know I just lost maybe 50% of my viewers, but fine, go listen to some Elvis. Let's talk about, because Elvis is in the news again for one very cool reason, one very sad reason, obviously the loss of Lisa Marie, but then the movie came out and really, I think, did a great job of reminding people who he is. Why does Elvis Presley still matter to both the American landscape, but also to music?
That's such a massive question, and I wish we had all day to talk, because you really could debate this on so many different levels. Why Elvis is still important today. I think a lot of people can resonate with him. It doesn't matter if you're 5 years old, if you're 50 years old, if you're 90 years old. Elvis was such a phenomenon in the sense of, not only was he a musician, a movie star, but he was also a father. He was a son. He was a husband. He was a real person. I think people tend to forget that. But once people kind of dive into who Elvis was, he was charitable and giving, and, all the stories that you hear from people that knew him really just show this incredible light on Elvis that most people probably don't know. You kind of get that, surface level touch point on Elvis when you watch an Elvis movie, or you hear a song on the radio, or, that kind of grabs you. And then, you kind of get sucked in a little bit, and then you kind of start learning more and more. And another reason I think Elvis is still so important and popular today is because we actually have a place you can visit and learn more. You can kind of immerse yourself into Elvis's world. Truly, when you come to Graceland, you were walking through the same front door that he brought home baby Lisa Marie through when he brought her from the hospital. So you are truly stepping into his world. And I think that has a lot to do with it. When you talk about the Beatles and you think about the popularity of the Beatles, where can you go to learn more about them and immerse yourself? I mean, you can go to Abbey Road. There's not much there.
Not much there,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, just in a comparison, there's not much else in terms of a star musician celebrity that you can actually go and truly have this incredible experience to not only learn more, but to be right in his home. I mean, if you've ever been to Graceland, we do not have plexiglass on the rooms. You literally are walking into the same house and walking on the carpet and everything that, not the exact carpet, but you know what I'm saying? You're in the home, you're there, there's a presence there. So I think all of that has to do with why Elvis, still so important, and he just transcends generations. And with your mention of the Elvis movie, we have seen an incredible, and I mean, just an incredible, not only, uptick in attendance, but also seeing, just more eyeballs on us as, Graceland as, a brand, and people coming here, bringing their families. There's so many people that I talk to personally that say, my granddaughter is now such a huge fan after the movie, and, they're wanting to buy the t-shirts and all of those things. So at the end of the day, he's a phenomenon, and we could go on and talk about it forever, I'm sure.
One of the things that I always think about when I think of him, and we run into it a lot when we do the baseball show too, because it's just a different era now. And I think we think athletes or stars are really self-absorbed and whatever, but Elvis was a guy who was drafted and served, just like Jimmy Stewart was drafted and all these ball players and stuff. And I think that's a really important part of his story.
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. And he was proud to serve his country, and it was at the pinnacle of his career too. That's something that maybe people don't realize, is that he had just kind of hit stardom, and then it all kind of came back down after going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do now that Elvis is having to go to Germany? And thanks to Colonel Parker, he was the one, Elvis's manager, if you're not familiar, he was the one that kept Elvis's career alive while he was overseas. So they would release albums throughout that time that he was in Germany. But Elvis never complained about it. I mean, never once. He was proud, and we actually have a display here called Private Presley. That's an Army exhibit that shows off and displays his Army fatigues and his, we have like the steamer trunk that he took over there. It's actually really cool. And that's where he met Priscilla for the first time. So a lot of cool history there. But yeah, Elvis was very proud to serve his country. And even when you fast forward to 1973, when he was doing the Aloha from Hawaii concert special that was satellite around the world, he wore an Aloha from Hawaii, like the American Eagle jumpsuit that I don't know if you're familiar with or if you've seen. But I mean, that obviously his, love for his country. There were a few different designs that he worked with the jumpsuit designer Bill Ballou on, and I think one was like American flag. There was another one, but ended up landing on the American Eagle because he wanted to show his love for his country. So I mean, Elvis was just a patriot, and he loved his country and he loved his fans. So.
And I love that. I want to talk a little bit about the movie, only because this is about tourism, and I know had to have driven things up. My curiousness, as I'm in the film industry down here in Austin, Texas, and my big curiosity was there some division among, like, when you guys, I'm assuming you all saw it relatively the same time. Did y'all feel like it was accurate enough? Did you feel like it did a good job of painting a picture? I think it was definitely a positive portrayal of what his life was like.
Absolutely. So, fortunately, we got to see the movie a few weeks before it was released because we wanted to put our stamp of approval on it, but we couldn't until we saw it. And it's always a fine line. There's obviously been a lot of movies and documentaries and things done about Elvis, since his passing. But what's interesting is that Baz Luhrmann, who directed the film, he actually started working on this film 5 years prior to its release, and he came here and spent months within our archives doing research. We gave him tons of access because we wanted him to do it right, and it was kind of like this big partnership. We all wanted to, do it together and it be an amazing production, and it was. And so to your question about how much is it factual and right, I would say about 90% is correct, and that's because he did do a ton of research, and there are a lot of Easter eggs within the movie that unless you know about the archives, you don't necessarily know. And one of the examples is there's one point where they're moving into Graceland, right? So they've got boxes and people moving everywhere, and you see people carrying the KitchenAid mixers. There's 2 KitchenAid mixers that are being carried through, and that there's 2 because Baz found 2 receipts for 2 KitchenAid mixers in our archive. So he did do his research, and I say 90% because the other 10% that isn't correct is because he would move things around in history based on how they played out, on screen visually and creatively. So, for example, the song King Creole, Elvis is singing and playing on the guitar inside Graceland before he goes into the army, but it's a movie and he did that after he got out. So it's things like that that, they're not wrong. They're just out of sequence a little bit. So yeah, but the movie has been absolutely fantastic for us and bringing new generations of Elvis fans, into our lives.
I love that too, because he's known to be such a visual director. I love knowing that he also did the behind the scenes work. I don't know why it's surprising, but I'm a big fan of Moulin Rouge as well. So I love the fact
Me too.
We actually revisited that as soon as we got finished done watching the movie. Let's talk about Graceland. I know that there's a lot of summer camp opportunities, educational opportunities, and I think it's an excellent way to keep that legacy growing. What is out there available for kids or for fans to kind of stay in touch with this icon?
Yeah, so overall, just visiting Graceland itself is an educational experience, right? So when you come here, we actually have an iPad tour that's narrated by John Stamos, who is a massive Elvis fan.
Right. Even on the show, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I didn't realize, sidebar fact, that he actually was the one who named that character Uncle Jesse. And the character is named after Elvis's stillborn twin, Jesse Guerin. So,
wow,
who knew? But yeah, so he's a massive fan. So we have an iPad tour that kind of takes you through the history of the home, and you can click on photos while you're going throughout the tour, and kind of get more interactive with the tour, see things that you wouldn't typically see on tour photos, videos, things like that. And yeah, there's so much history here. There's so much to learn, just in the general sense of coming to Graceland, right? So not only do you have Graceland history and Elvis history, we have Elvis Presley's Memphis Entertainment Complex, which is located directly across the street from the mansion, that houses so many exhibits, everything from his car collection that we have, like I said, the Army exhibit. We have a massive, beautiful display of jumpsuits that's just absolutely stunning. So gold records, you name it, we have it. Plus, if you are a fan of the movie, we have a movie exhibit. So we actually have items on display from the movie. So wardrobe from the film is actually on display here. And that's actually a limited time in that exhibit. But yeah, to your point about kids and Elvis and education. So a few years ago, we started a Graceland Performing Arts Camp that is probably about 5 to 6 days during the summer. This year, it's June 27th through July 2nd, and it's essentially meant for families to come. You get a hotel room at the guest house at Graceland, which is our amazing resort hotel located next door to us. You get a room, all your meals are included, and if you're the parent, you drop your kids off at the camp, which is at the guest house, and the kids get to learn about singing and acting and dancing, and by the end of the week, they get to put on a performance at the guest house theater, and we have some amazing teachers. I am not one of them, fortunately, but I do help facilitate the camp and the operational point of it, but they get tours. And we try to plan, fun family activities, but it's really like parents come, bring your kids, they get to learn about Elvis. We have other activities planned for the parents during the day if they want to do it. If not, they can just vacation and sit by the pool. It's very flexible, but it's kind of like an all-inclusive little package for families to come, and it falls over the same 4th of July weekend. So if people wanted to stay for the 4th of July weekend, they could do that as well. So it's just a really cool thing to see kids ages between 6 and 17. These kids are Elvis fans. Like, that's why they're coming to camp. You don't have to be an Elvis fan, but so many of these kids are. And honestly, we've been doing this for 5 years, and we've had campers every single year who have come back year after year. I even have a camper who she kind of graduated, went to college. She's come back and wanted to help with the camp. She loved it so much. So it's just the power of Elvis to see a new generation of fans kind of bloom, even since the movie, and now they're coming to summer camp, is absolutely wild to me. And it just shows that, you put Elvis in front of somebody and let him do the work, and he does the rest.
I was going to say, and also, if you're coming for 4th of July weekend, go see some fireworks at the Memphis Redbirds game. See what we're doing here? So one of the things I noticed from you both in our pre-interview and now is you love your job and you're fired up about what you're doing. What part of this sort of Elvis legend do you feel like you gravitate to the most? What part of it kind of connects with you?
Wow, you know what? In all my years, I've been doing this for almost 16 years now, and I don't know that I've ever been asked that question. I get asked a lot of questions. That's an interesting question. I think, it's hard to say. I look at my job as a responsibility of taking care of someone's legacy. Like I said, he's a person that I have come to know and learn a lot about. It's unlike any other job in the world when you are dealing with someone who, has the magnitude and power that Elvis has still today, on top of still, having family that's still alive that we're essentially, you feel like you have to report to. And so there comes with a sense of, pride and responsibility to do your job well. And, you have to actually care about, what you're doing, because, we work around the clock. We're constantly busy planning events, doing X, Y, and Z. And it's a lot of fun at the end of the day. But I mean, I will say, being a Memphian and that Elvis loved Graceland and loved calling Memphis home really resonates with me, because there's a lot of people who are implants into Memphis who have, come here, set up their families here, and they've absolutely loved it, which gives me a lot of pride. But there's a lot of people who, hate Memphis, and I go, why? Like, it's such an amazing place to be. And if Elvis loved it, you can too. So,
right.
But, there's just so many things, I guess that resonate with me. I get to, meet people from all over the world. That's just such a blessing. I've gotten to meet so many incredible people who I consider friends and family. That's one of the really cool things about the Elvis world, is that, fans have turned into true friends of mine. And it's so hard to explain unless you're in it, but it's just something that you can't really put your finger on. And I think that, again, it's the power of Elvis. And I think that's what really resonates with me, is just the people that are here that I've been surrounded with. And, for me being at the company for 16 years, I'm one of the youngest in terms of years. Most people who have worked here, longer than me, they've worked here for 20, 25, 30 years. And I think that speaks very highly of the company. So it's about the people. And I think that's what really resonates with me the most is the people and the relationships.
Well, if all the people that work there have the same energy and love for it that you do, I think it's going to keep going and keep being a positive impact on Memphis. Thanks so much, Alicia Dean from Graceland. Thanks so much for jumping on Let's Get To.
Thank you for having me.
Ladies and gentlemen, please adjust your scorecards. We have a special guest in the lineup.
And welcome back to Let's Get To. As we continue to explore Memphis and the culture outside of Memphis, it's hard not to focus on the king. And to talk a little bit about Elvis Presley, we've got Mr. Thrill here, who is an Elvis tribute artist. First of all, looks like you're also enjoying this beautiful Austin weather. How's it going?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. It's really nice out here.
Let's talk a little bit about you and when did you first discover the king and were you instantly a fan?
Well, of course I grew up with Elvis and the movies and the music and everything like that. And wasn't really till I got older that I began to like be a tribute artist kind of thing. I didn't really know much about it. I was a teacher. I taught for 25 years, and I was always looking for part-time money. And so I realized that there was kind of an industry for the Elvis tribute artist, and I saw that there are people out there doing this, and I was like, wow. And I thought, these guys don't really look just like Elvis. They don't really sound like Elvis. I think I can do as good as they are, better. And then I realized, then I got into it, and this is like a phenomena of people that were like, going to see Elvis impersonators locally. And in the Austin area, there's a restaurant called Chewy's, and the Elvis was their patron saint. And so they would have Elvis impersonators at every one of their restaurants. And so that's kind of a phenomena. And they quit doing it kind of after COVID, but it was kind of cool. Everybody went to Chewy's on Elvis' birthday, and it was a very, very cool thing. And so so that has gone from there, from just being an Elvis fan as a kid to an adult, to going, when you begin to study Elvis and you go, wow, this guy's an icon. It's like, obviously the movies, stuff like that, but people are just, there are people who are really into Elvis, and then there's people, there's a casual Elvis fan, but there are some people that are just like, this is serious stuff. Don't mess around. Don't mess with it, man. Don't mess with this.
I'm going to pan my camera real quick. I'm going to pan my camera real quick just to give you an idea of what I'm about. So,
wow, you're one of those fans.
Yeah, so I've got baseball stuff and Star Wars stuff, and I only point that out because I kind of liken. I think the world sucks, and if you can find something that you're into and you can be passionate about, and I think it's no different than being a sports fan or liking Star Wars, right? Like, people get fired up and passionate, and there's a whole subculture to that.
Oh yeah, no, it is fun to be intrigued it's been a real journey. Like I do several other characters also, but when I read all the books, the biographies, the stories, and people are always giving me Elvis. It's like, give him Elvis stuff. So I'm always getting Elvis stuff, and I kind of move it on fast. But it's the Elvis phenomena, is that what I call it, is amazing, really.
I want to talk a little bit about the movie. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm not even a huge fan of the director necessarily, but your take on it. Did it feel accurate to you? Were you into it, or was it one of those Hollywood gloss jobs?
I did see the movie right when it came out. I was visiting Durango, and so I went to the local theater, and it was sold out, and right as it came out, and so I went, and I very much enjoyed the movie. I thought it was very well done. And again, I think, I deal with a lot of other Elvis impersonators and people, and so you listen to the discussions that go on, and the purists and stuff like that. And so if someone's going, hey, well, that was not a chronological order, historical thing. If you're looking for like you want the historical history of Elvis' life, that's probably not the movie for you. But it really showed. I mean, they're showing 20 years of his life in a 3-hour movie, and I thought they did a very good job, and it was very entertaining. And Austin Butler did a great job. I thought he did very well, and I mean, you can cover Elvis from so many angles, and I thought the movie did a wonderful job. And people were excited about it. It's just like some people. I mean, I've only seen it once, and I'll probably will watch it again. I have opportunity, but I know people they've said 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And I will go back, but I knew the story. I thought Tom Hanks was great too, and just that I've read. I've read the books, The Colonel and Elvis, which a lot of people don't know the story of the Colonel. So it's definitely a good read, and the movie portrayed that part that most people didn't know about in Elvis's story.
I have to wonder, has it renewed interest? Like, have you seen a bump in bookings as a result, or have you seen that yet?
It's kind of hard to tell. I've been busy. I've probably been doing this I've been retired from teaching for 5 years, and I started doing this probably 15 years ago. And I've always, at least in this area, I don't know how it is in other areas.
Right.
I mean, because, Austin area is say maybe 1 million to 2 million in a, 50-mile radius. And so I pretty much steady Elvis gigs. And then especially since I've retired, I'm 8 to 10 events a month. And then I play restaurants and clubs, and it's just people like to see Elvis, and it always, but I guess, I don't know if it's in renewed interest. I think I'm just getting steady gigs. People are just excited, and I think the Elvis phenomenon too, it's easy because people are going, hey, what do we do? Well, it's like, Elvis is recognizable. The costume, everybody knows, when they see an Elvis white jumpsuit, they're going, right. They know it is. And you see the sideburns. It's, he has so many things that are recognizable. I also do with someone like Neil Diamond. It's not as recognizable. People like him. Okay, well, yeah, I know Sweet Caroline, but I don't really know what Neil Diamond looks like or sounds like. Whereas Elvis, he's like from the South, and he's got he's just like a good old boy, and he's polite, and you like him,
I also teach high school. I run a film department, and I've noticed my kids listening to Elvis between whatever classic rap, old rap they're listening to as well. I thought it was interesting that they are bringing it back. And do you see the passion for him continuing? Or like, is he just going to be part of our fabric like the Beatles are, and we're just going to keep talking about him?
I definitely think he is an American icon. And yeah, it's like and there may be waves of, like you said, the Beatles and Elvis. They both compete for like how many #1 records and stuff like that. And I love them both. And I don't think it's going away, kind of thing. And that music it's just fun to party with. I also DJ, so you always you connect. The #1 song, Can't Help Falling in Love, is probably a first dance still for so many people. And you play it as a slow dance song, man, it's just like, that's it. Grandma's going to get up, but people, and then it's covered by so many artists. And yeah, so I don't think he's going away. I think he's, and I always do an Elvis contest, kind of get people up, and people are, they're right into it. There's a lot of up and coming, as I am creating my own competition, but they need some younger Elvis. I'm getting up there.
we need a military area.
I'm Elvis if Elvis lived a little longer.
Yeah. Have you made it out to Graceland and all that stuff?
Yes, I have. I have gone there twice. My wife is from Pennsylvania, and I always wanted to stop in Graceland. We drive to Pennsylvania. We drive. Hey, let's stop. She said, no, I want to see my mother. And then when I started doing this, then she said, all right, we're going to stop in Graceland. We took the kids in, and that was great. And we did the whole tour and everything. And my son, they were like, 8 and 6. And we get to the end of the whole tour, and my son was sitting there, and he was crying. I go, what's wrong? And he goes, it's just so sad because he really took it all in. He was like going, you know, because you go in and you see everything, and it was, and he was like took it all in, like, oh my God, oh, you did all these things. And so the Graceland was a great tour. I really enjoyed it. And we went again. Second time we went was this, I guess about a year ago during the pandemic, and we went, and again, I can just walk around. I love the house and the 70s style, and the jungle room, the basement, the 3 TVs. The jungle room is like, you see all, you're like the ashtray at almost every seat. And so, but I am a tennis player. I don't play racquetball, but the racquetball courts they have filled with this, and that was the last place that he played. The piano right there and so, yeah, man, I think even if you're not an Elvis fan, you need to go to Graceland at least once in your lifetime. I plan to go again.
Yeah. I was after I saw the movie, I think for the second time, I did another deep dive, and just to me, it kept coming back to that one of the last performances he had when he was singing Unchained Melody, and just like, they're holding the microphone, and you know he's barely holding it together, but still just delivered an amazing performance.
Yeah. Yes, well, and that's what you give Elvis. Even you listen to the live performance, he would go for it. You know, he was always. You have to appreciate him as an artist, because he would, you know, like Unchained Melody was probably almost out of his register, and he said, "I'm going to go in," and I want to play the piano. I want to be. He had a lot of things. I want to be I want to do more serious movies. And so he was, I mean, it's his story. I always say it's the American dream and the American tragedy. It's, it kind of gives me, I'm just explaining it and talking to you. I'm going, I really get into it. Sometimes I go, I've done it so much, and it's like, I'm living off the crumbs of the king kind of thing. It's like, but, it is amazing. And in the music and the joy, I do a lot of retirement homes. And so,
sure.
And he crossed over, and it's kind of like, and somebody said, when you're wearing that white jumpsuit, it's kind of like a male negligee kind of thing, but you walk in and it's like women just are like, you can be a fat, bald, you'd be a fat, bald Elvis with a wig, but you have on that white suit, women are just like, oh my God, Elvis is here.
Don't mind me. I'm writing that down. Give that
I got that from one of his book, Elvis: What Happened Next. Actually, another book that some of the people don't like, but they did describe it like he's walking around in a male negligee.
I absolutely love that. Well, as we wrap up, where can people see you next, and how can people get a hold of you if they want to book you?
Yeah, well, I do travel, but I play mostly in the Austin area. You can go to Mr. Thrill. Just Google Mr. Thrill, Elvis, and you'll find me. My website's elvistributeaustin.com. And yeah, I play at local restaurants. Mesa Rosa, I'm playing Saturday, and then people just keep booking parties, and there's no end to till I can't do it anymore. And I'm telling you, Elvis, there's a shortage of Elvis impersonators in the Austin area, but don't let anybody know.
We definitely won't. I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on Let's Get To You. This has been an absolute privilege.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that very much.
And now, on to close it out, the right-hander from Houston, Texas, James Christopher.
So just wrap up our first ballpark trip to AutoZone Park, home of your Memphis Redbirds. Now, how have I felt about Memphis? All I can say is, bless my soul, what's wrong with me? I'm itching like a man on a fuzzy tree. My friends are saying that I'm wild as a bug. I'm in love. I'm all shook up. I wrote that, by the way. So, yeah, no, we had a great time out at the ballpark. This has to be on your ballpark trip bucket list. It is maybe the best pure downtown ballpark that I've ever been to. We had a great time. We will be back. Now, next week, we'll be staying in the state of Tennessee. We're going to be visiting the Nashville Sounds because just like everything else, when it comes to the state of Tennessee, Let's Get To. Let's Get To is presented by Twitchy Dolphin Media. Creative directors, Jessica Bybee Jedgetts. Executive producers, James Christopher, Andy Tumchesson, and Scott McIntyre. Produced by Andrew Nelson and Eric Mertens. Associate producers, Timothy Jedgetts and Jess Canaster. All content created by Let's Get To is the sole property of Twitchy Dolphin Media. All content created by teams covered in the episode are the sole property of the trademark holders.